Good morning, and thank you for spending a little time with me today. If you're listening quietly right now, maybe with a cup of tea nearby, or sitting somewhere familiar and comfortable, you're exactly where you need to be. Many people, once they pass 65, start hearing the same message again and again, that the best years are behind them, that slowing down is just something you have to accept. That change now won't really make a difference. But what if that isn't the full story? What if aging isn't about things going wrong, but about the body asking for a different kind of care? This isn't a video about pushing yourself. It's not about fixing everything, and it's definitely not about 5 things you must start doing tomorrow morning. This is simply a calm conversation, one that many of us were never really invited into. Because after 65, the body doesn't stop responding. It just responds more strongly to patterns, especially in the first hour of the day. That first hour sends quiet signals throughout the body, signals that tell your system whether today will feel rushed or steady, supported or strained. Most of us were never taught to notice this. We were taught to look for problems, not patterns. So if you've ever woken up and felt a little heavier than you used to, a little slower to get going, or quietly wondered why things feel different even though nothing is wrong, you're not alone. And there's nothing failing about you. Today isn't about changing who you are. It's about understanding how your body works now, at this stage of life, and how small, gentle choices can support it over time. No pressure, no urgency, just understanding. Let's begin there. One of the quiet burdens many people carry into later life is a sense of guilt. A feeling that the body is changing because something was done wrong. I should have exercised more. I should have eaten better. I should have paid attention earlier. But aging doesn't work like a scorecard. The body doesn't suddenly begin to fail at 60 or 70. What it does instead is adjust how it responds. The systems are still there. They're simply working at a different pace. Think of it like this. A car that's been driven carefully for many years may not accelerate as quickly as it once did, but that doesn't mean the engine is broken. It means it's tuned for steadiness, not speed. The human body is very similar. As we age, repair processes take longer. Inflammatory responses settle more slowly. Muscles and tissues need clearer signals to stay strong. That's not deterioration, that's adaptation. And here's where many people misunderstand what's happening. Slower does not mean weaker. Quieter does not mean failing. In fact, many older bodies are remarkably resilient. They just need consistency rather than intensity. This is why harsh approaches often backfire later in life. Sudden overhauls, extreme routines, all or nothing thinking. The body interprets those as stress, and a stress system becomes less responsive, not more. Understanding the basics becomes more important with age, not because things are fragile, but because the margin for error is smaller. Small signals matter more now. Regular meals, gentle movement, predictable sleep, calm mornings. These aren't lifestyle trends. They're stabilizers. When people realize this, something shifts emotionally. The pressure lifts. Health stops feeling like a test you might fail and starts feeling like a relationship you can tend to. You're no longer trying to force the body back to how it was at 40. You're learning how it works now. And that understanding alone often brings a surprising sense of relief. Because nothing is broken. Your body is simply asking to be met where it is. And once you begin listening instead of judging, support becomes much easier. After a long night of sleep, your body is in a very particular state. Not weak, not fragile, just open. Over several hours, you've lost water through breathing and warmth. Hormones that guided you through sleep begin to shift. Your nervous system gently resets, preparing to move from rest into activity. Nothing dramatic is happening, but everything is listening. This is why the first hour of the morning matters more than most people realize. Not because it decides your future, not because one morning can change your life, but because what happens in that first hour sets the direction for the rest of the day. Think of it less like a switch and more like a compass. The body doesn't make decisions all at once. It looks for patterns. What happens occasionally barely registers. What happens every morning quietly shapes how systems respond. After sleep, your body is especially sensitive to signals. Fluid balance, movement, light, breathing, even the pace at which you begin the day. These signals don't act like instructions, they act like suggestions. And when the same suggestions are repeated, day after day, the body begins to follow them automatically. This is why mornings are often where aging speeds up or slows down. Not because of one choice, but because of repetition. Cells don't analyze, they respond. They don't ask whether something is good or bad. They adapt to what they experience most often. If mornings are rushed, dehydrated, and tense, the body learns to operate in a state of mild stress. If mornings are steady, hydrated, and grounded, the body learns that it's safe to function calmly. This isn't about DNA or complex chemistry. You don't need to think in those terms. It's much simpler than that. The body follows the rhythm it's given. Especially after 60, when recovery takes a little longer and systems prefer predictability over intensity. The first hour of the day doesn't control your destiny, but it does gently steer the tone of the next 16. Energy levels, blood pressure patterns, balance, mental clarity, all of these are influenced by how the body is invited into the day. This is why we're spending time here, not to create pressure, not to add rules, but to understand why small, repeatable morning habits can support slower aging over time. In the next part of our conversation, we'll begin looking at specific morning signals, starting with one that feels almost too simple to matter, yet plays a surprisingly large role in how the body functions as the day begins. And we'll approach it the same way we always do here. Calmly. Let's begin with the simplest habit of all, not because it's dramatic, but because it's dependable. Water. After 65, the body changes the way it sends signals. One of the most important changes is this. The sensation of thirst becomes less reliable. You may not feel thirsty, even when your body would clearly benefit from fluid. This isn't a flaw, it's just part of aging. The nervous system becomes more conservative with alerts. By the time thirst appears, the body has often already been compensating for a while. That's why relying on thirst alone no longer works as well as it once did. Drinking water early in the morning isn't about cleansing, it's not a detox, and it doesn't promise instant results. Its role is far quieter than that. Overnight, without realizing it, we lose water through breathing and warmth. Blood becomes slightly thicker. Circulation works a little harder than it needs to. When you drink water soon after waking, you're not fixing anything. You're restoring balance. A useful way to picture this is to imagine two streams. One is thick and slow-moving, pushing its way through a narrow channel. The other flows more freely, moving with less resistance. The heart doesn't need to work as hard when the flow is smoother. That's what morning hydration supports. It gently reduces strain on the cardiovascular system at a time when the body is transitioning from rest to activity. Nothing dramatic happens, and that's exactly the point. This kind of support doesn't announce itself. It simply makes the day easier on the body. You may notice fewer lightheaded moments, a steadier feeling when standing, more consistent energy as the morning unfolds. Or you may not notice anything at all and still be helping your system in the background. Both are valid outcomes. A quiet habit doesn't need to feel powerful to be effective. Now, a gentle word about coffee. Coffee isn't the problem. It doesn't need to be removed or feared. But it works best when it isn't the first signal your body receives. Caffeine encourages alertness by stimulating stress pathways. That's useful later. Less so when the body is still finding its rhythm for the day. Water first, then coffee. This small shift changes the message your body receives. Instead of wake up fast, the signal becomes, you're supported, now let's begin. There's no need for large volumes, there's no need for rules. Just a simple habit, repeated most mornings, that quietly supports stability. And in later life, stability is often the most valuable gift we can give the body. In the next part of our conversation, we'll look at another morning signal, one that doesn't involve consuming anything at all, yet has a surprisingly strong influence on how the body organizes itself for the day ahead. There's something important to understand about the body, especially after 60. The body doesn't know what time it is. It doesn't read clocks. It doesn't follow calendars. It doesn't care what the schedule says. The body responds to light. Light is the signal that tells the brain, this is morning. This is daytime. This is when we become alert. This is when we rest later. And after 60, that signaling system becomes easier to disrupt. Not broken, just more sensitive. Over the years, the internal clock can slowly drift. Sleep becomes lighter. Afternoons feel heavier. Evenings feel wired, and nights feel restless. Many people assume this is just aging, something to tolerate. But often, it's simply a clock that's no longer being reset clearly. Morning light is one of the most powerful reset signals available, and it costs nothing. When natural light reaches the eyes early in the day, it sends a clear message to the brain, not through vision, but through specialized pathways that exist purely for timing. A simple way to remember this is, the brain listens through the eyes. This signal helps organize the entire day. Sleep pressure builds more naturally. Evening tiredness arrives at the right time. The body releases energy when it's needed and lets go when it's not. For many people, the changes are subtle but meaningful. Sleep becomes more predictable. That heavy afternoon slump eases. Mood feels steadier, less flat, less irritable. Not because anything has been fixed, but because the body knows where it is in the day again. This doesn't require sunshine. It doesn't require exercise. And it doesn't require perfection. Even on overcast mornings, outdoor light is far stronger than indoor lighting. Standing near a window helps, but stepping outside is more effective. A few minutes is enough to make a difference. The key is timing. Morning light works best early, before the day has fully begun. Later light doesn't have the same organizing effect. It's like trying to reset a watch after it's already been running all day. For those who wake feeling foggy or find themselves wide awake at night, this habit often brings an unexpected sense of relief, not excitement, not energy, just steadiness. And steadiness, again, is what the aging body responds to best. This isn't about forcing sleep. It's about allowing the body to find its rhythm. In the next part of our conversation, we'll look at another quiet morning habit, one that supports strength and stability, not by pushing the body, but by giving it what it's most ready to use early in the day. There's a quiet truth about aging that doesn't get talked about very often. Loss of muscle isn't just about strength, it's about independence. Muscle is what helps you stand up from a chair without thinking about it. It's what keeps you steady on uneven ground. It's what gives you confidence to move through your day without hesitation. As muscle slowly fades, life can begin to feel smaller. Not because people want less, but because their bodies ask for caution. This isn't weakness, it's biology. After 60, the body naturally loses muscle more easily and rebuilds it more slowly. If nothing changes, that process quietly accelerates year after year. What matters most is not intensity, it's timing. In the morning, after a night of rest, the body is especially ready to receive nourishment. Digestion is more efficient. Repair signals are more active. Muscle tissue is more receptive to support. This is why protein earlier in the day matters. Not as a rule, not as a target, and certainly not as a calculation, just as a gentle shift in emphasis. Many people leave most of their protein for dinner. It's familiar, it feels satisfying. But by evening, the body's capacity to use that protein is already winding down. Morning protein sends a different message. It tells the body, we're supporting strength today. We're maintaining what helps us move. We're protecting balance. Protein doesn't just support muscles. It supports posture, reaction time, the small adjustments your body makes to prevent a stumble from becoming a fall. And falls, after 65, are not minor events. They can change everything. This isn't about large portions or forcing foods that don't feel right. It might be eggs, yogurt, fish, or another protein-rich choice that fits comfortably into your morning. The key idea is simple. Don't leave all the protein for dinner. Even a modest amount in the morning can support steadier movement across the day. People often notice small changes first. Standing feels easier, stairs feel less demanding. Balance feels more reliable. When people talk about falls in later life, they often describe them as accidents, something sudden, something unlucky. But most falls are not accidents at all. They're signals that the systems responsible for balance have slowly stopped communicating as clearly as they once did. Balance isn't just about strong legs, and it's not just about careful walking. It's a conversation between the brain, the eyes, the inner ear, and the muscles that keep you upright. When that conversation weakens, the body doesn't always get a warning before it loses stability. This is why balance matters so deeply, not because it prevents embarrassment, but because it protects independence, confidence, and the brain itself. Here's something reassuring. Balance is not a fixed ability. It's a learned skill, and the brain can relearn it at any age. When you practice balance gently, you're not just training your muscles, you're teaching your brain to reconnect signals. It may have stopped prioritizing. This is one of the rare habits where the body and brain improve together. And it doesn't require a gym. It doesn't require equipment, and it doesn't need to feel risky. The most effective balance exercises are often very small. Standing near a bench or chair for support. Shifting your weight slowly from one foot to the other. Lifting one heel, then the other. Pausing. Noticing how your body adjusts. These movements may look simple, but inside the nervous system, Something important is happening. The brain is paying attention again. Over time, these small signals help improve reaction speed, postural awareness, and the quiet corrections your body makes before a stumble becomes a fall. Many people are surprised by how quickly balance responds. Not perfectly, but noticeably. Walking feels steadier. Turning feels more controlled. Confidence returns in small, meaningful ways. This isn't about pushing limits. It's about restoring community. There's one habit many people overlook because it feels too simple to matter. Breathing. We do it all day, every day, without thinking. But how we breathe quietly tells the nervous system whether it's safe to repair or necessary to stay on alert. Breathing isn't just about oxygen. It's a signal that shapes heart rate, blood pressure, muscle tension, and how quickly the body moves out of stress. As we get older, something subtle often happens. Breathing becomes shallower, not intentionally, just gradually. The chest does more work, the lower lungs do less. This pattern doesn't cause obvious symptoms, but it creates a low level of background stress inside the body. Nothing dramatic, just a constant sense of on. And when the nervous system stays switched on, repair processes don't get the same attention. Slowing the breath gently changes that message. Not to fix anything, not to treat disease. Simply to let the body know that it's allowed to settle. A slower, deeper breathing rhythm activates the part of the nervous system responsible for rest, digestion, and repair. This is the same system that supports cell maintenance, tissue recovery, and calmer circulation. The reason morning breathing matters so much is timing. When you breathe slowly shortly after waking, before the day adds its demands, you set a baseline. The nervous system takes that cue and carries it forward. Heart rate becomes steadier. Muscles soften more easily. Stress hormones rise less sharply. The body doesn't suddenly heal. Before we finish this conversation, there's something important to say out loud. You don't need to do all of this. There is no checklist to complete, no perfect morning routine to master, no rule that says, if you miss one step, you've failed. That way of thinking creates pressure. And pressure rarely leads to consistency, especially after 65. Real change doesn't come from doing everything once. It comes from doing one small thing often enough that the body begins to trust it. One habit, done gently, done regularly, that's enough. Some people start with water, others with light. Some find breathing easiest. Others feel more confident beginning with balance. There's no right order. There's only what fits into your life and what you can repeat without forcing yourself. After 65, success doesn't mean chasing numbers. It doesn't mean trying to feel young again. And it certainly doesn't mean doing more and more. Success looks quieter than that. It looks like protecting the brain so thinking stays clear. It looks like maintaining balance so movement feels safer. It looks like keeping enough strength and awareness to remain independent in daily life. Those things don't require intensity. They require stability, a steady rhythm the body can rely on. Many people believe progress has to feel dramatic, but often the most meaningful changes feel almost boring. Less fatigue in the afternoon, more confidence on your feet, a calmer start to the day. These aren't headlines, but they're foundations, and foundations are what keep things standing over time. So if there's one thing to take from this, let it be this. Choose one habit. Make it gentle. Make it repeatable. That's not settling for less. That's working with your body instead of against it. And after 65, that's often where real success begins. As we come to the end of today's conversation, there's no big conclusion to reach, no final rule, No single takeaway you must remember, just a quiet reminder. Understanding brings calm, and calm creates space for better choices. Nothing we talked about today was meant to rush you or to suggest you've been doing things wrong. It was simply an invitation to see your body a little more clearly and to treat it with steadiness rather than urgency. Aging doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for awareness and sometimes just a bit more kindness toward yourself. If any part of this conversation felt familiar or helped something make sense, that's enough for today. You don't need to change anything immediately. You don't need to remember everything. These conversations are meant to sit with you, not push you. If you'd like to keep exploring health this way, slowly, calmly, and without pressure, you're very welcome to stay. You can like this video if it felt supportive. And if you'd like to hear more conversations like this, you're welcome to subscribe so they find their way to you when they're ready. If you feel comfortable, you might also leave a comment sharing a thought or simply saying hello. Many people find comfort in knowing others are listening too. We'll keep these conversations going, not to tell you what to do, but to sit alongside you as you navigate this stage of life. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next conversation.